Formerly suicidal redditors, what's something that kept you alive a little while longer and helped you to get through the dark times in your lives? Mostly thinking about how much my family and my few friends would hurt. The black fluffy cat I've always wanted, jumping in my garden and then in my life, forcing me out of bed as he requested food. This started when I was 15. I like to draw. One day I drew a wide open field with tall grass and wide open sky. For years I imagined my future self in that field, stargazing with or without a family, just being entirely content even for a moment. I would promise myself that one day I would find that field and feel that contentment. I still haven't found it, but I've found ways to be content in everything else that I do every day. It's 5 years later now and I've had ups and downs, but I still have that first drawing on my wall, and every once in a while I look at it and I connect the contentment I feel now and think I may not be there physically, but I'm there mentally. Never give up hope that one day it will get better. My mum told me she would give me £100 if I made it through a month. I don't know how that worked, but it did. Alan Watts. I always promise myself that if I'm suicidal and can go through a whole day of lusts without crying, I can make an attempt because it'll truly mean I'm done. I'll go through my whole day telling myself this is my last cup of tea, this is my last time seeing my family, this is the last time I'll watch the rain, this is the last time I'll smell my favorite candle, this is my last time talking to my boyfriend. Usually one of them will choke me up pretty badly. I didn't want to die giving away a huge chunk of my estate to my rapist estranged father. I'm Muslim by law and I can't change it since it is permanent, fair aid system, even though I am currently an ex-Muslim. I think it's because I just wanted the pain to stop and I didn't want to die deep down. No matter how bad I got, I didn't have the guts to go through with it. I was in an incredibly emotionally, financially, sexually, and verbally abusive relationship, sometimes physically. When I had my son I had the worst depression ever and seriously considered taking the same Glock 19 my husband threatened to kill me with and blowing my brains out because I felt stuck. I would sneakily crawl out of bed and stare at the night sights he had put on his Glock obsessively in the dark until I talked myself out of killing myself. The only thing that kept me from not killing myself, since I thought about it every day 24/7, was how my parents were going to explain to my son one day how his mom died, because I know his own father would probably not be in his life if I were to die. The thought of my parents telling my son your mommy died from sadness and then telling him later on in life your mother killed herself by shooting herself was enough to finally get the help I needed and to flee with my son. I was in Wellbutrin and then weaned myself off before I left my husband. I feel better than ever now that he's out of my life and now that I have my family back. I guess the thing that kept me going was that I didn't want to die, I wanted the pain in my life to end, and sometimes it takes a lot to get away from that pain and find the root cause of your suffering. It's like taking out a tooth, the extraction is uncomfortable, the pain afterwards is excruciating, but the results are a world of bliss and you will be free. I heard my mom's blood-curdling scream when her mother died. The thought of her going through that over me has stopped me in my tracks several times. Knowing that it's an option. I think about suicide a lot, I even had a kit prepared and a date set at one point. Firstly, I should add that I don't think anybody has the right to judge someone for taking their own life. Nor do I think it is immoral or the easy way out. Suicide can be a totally rational act, albeit it tends to be committed during a time of acute emotional stress. Anyway, I struggled with the absurdity of life for a very long time, to try to find meaning in something that is inherently meaningless. I also had a particularly rough couple of years where things seemed to be going wrong, which left me undermined as a person. I realized that I have bad days and I have better days. Generally speaking, the bad outweigh the good, but there is usually some happiness that will creep back into your life at some point. But I take solace in knowing that if it ever does get unmanageably awful, there is always a way out that will make it end. It's a very permanent solution, but there is always a cure. In many ways that actually makes me feel a little less hopeless, and counterintuitively gives me the strength I need to carry on. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it has worked for me. My son. You will die. Might as well see what kind of ride you can make life into. Looking forwarding to things helps. It could be a new book in a series or movie or show or a video game coming out in the future that I'd like to enjoy. Not as profound or meaningful as a lot of the other responses, but sometimes it's all that keeps me going some days. I always believed that because of the chaotic nature of the universe, if I kept hanging in there and trying to practice changing my outlook, one day I might have a future where I would enjoy a life. And, hell, here I am. Fuck you, past. The thought of my mom seeing me dead, the fact that if I take that step I will be passing my pain to my mom, made me shudder in guilt and fear. The fact that I was at home when I had those thoughts kept me alive. If I had not been at home I would not be here typing this message. The fact is still go through suicidal thoughts, but it's been more of a passive wish now. Hope to survive till my mom is around. My best friend and my cat. My BFF was suicidal like me, but we were always encouraging each other to be alive. We always said one of has to be alive and successful, and we thought it was each other. It really helped me for a stupid reason. Also, my cat's existence really helped me. I may have cried every time I saw him, but I knew if him not around, no one would take care of him as well as me. My brother is EMT and is really busy. My mom isn't really the best pet sitter, and my dad straight up hates animals. So I had to be alive so my boy will be happy and alive. My dogs. For me it was my cousin and mostly my mother. I believed that nobody loved me and no one would care if I was gone. I used to tell myself that I should take my life, but I was too much of a coward to do it. My cousin had been encouraging me to talk about this with my parents and try to convince them that I need professional help. One late night I gathered the courage and I sent my mom a message saying take me to a psychologist. Long story short, I was crying chaotically and my mom said that she's glad I didn't do something that would have made the whole family suffer. I did not expect that. That honestly changed my life. Even now, years later, when the negative thoughts come back, I think about the people that love me. I could never do something to hurt them. Still looking for that happy thing to keep me here, but I have a doctor's appointment in 2 days. It'll be my first time talking to my doctor about being suicidal. I'm super nervous. Both fear and hope. When I was going through the roughest point in my life, I had nothing, and nobody left around me. My life had been stripped away in a matter of days, leaving me homeless, broke, with no family or friends to count on, and in a different city. It took a few weeks to even wrap my head around what had happened, and the situation I was in, but after that, even though I hated my situation, and wanted to die from the physical and emotional pain I was in, I saw death as a failure on my part, that I had failed to fulfill my life's purpose even if I hadn't quite figured it out at that point. The hope that things would get better, and the fear of failing were the things I could count on, and the things within myself that have kept me going, some 8 years even past that. For those of you looking for a light, consider this to be it. It will be hard, and it will suck. But if you can count on yourself and manage to drag yourself out however hard it may be, it will change everything. On a personal note, it did get better. I made better friends once who shared the same interests as me, adopted some of their families as my own, and reconciled what relationships I needed. I'm not going to glorify it at all, and I have found my own faiths in myself and my gods, but putting it bluntly, other than the faith, this is the only life you're guaranteed. Why not push through these shitty times? Hold on a bit longer and not just wait, but actively push down an avenue to your own future. Carve your own path if you have to. It will ebb and flow, things get better, and then a bit worse, but they always come around. The main and most important thing you can take away from a situation is what you can learn, and not repeat for next time a situation comes up. Learn what you look for in life through your actions in your darkest moments and focus on yourself. Find out what it is that you find fundamentally wrong, especially within yourself, and change it. A random kid who stepped in front of me to watch the train coming, and the deep sense of regret for what I was doing that I immediately felt. Repatriation and funeral costs. I knew my family would go into debt to pay them and had no legal power to ask to not be repatriated, so I clung on until I could go back to my home country. Being back in my country made things a lot better, but I must admit being here on visits was hard, and I often thought of them as the time when I can die freely.